This is my first ever video, and without further ado, I'm going to be describing the key differences and benefits that one would see from a BRM sprocket upgrade to your ALH and BEW oil pump over running the stock sprocket. So without further ado, let's dive into the details. And as the avid viewer can see, this sprocket is obviously much smaller than your other sprocket. What that entails is that this sprocket will be driven by the crankshaft faster than what this is being driven, than the speed that this is being driven at. So with that, you're reducing your gear ratio from your crankshaft pulley, which would be sitting right around up here. Doesn't really matter. In our case, we're just talking about the sprockets. So reducing your sprocket size will spin your pump faster. And what that entails is not only a higher total oil volume flow, but it also increases your total oil pressure. It also increases your oil pressure throughout the RPM band as you are physically spinning the pump faster. You're not telling the bleed off, which is located right here on these pumps, to either actuate or close based on electronic inputs. I know there's some oil pumps out there that will electronically meter themselves. However, I don't know how common it is on a passenger car from 20 years ago. So you're driving your pump at a way faster speed. This is really beneficial for the PD-TDI engines from 2004 to 2006, which was their total production run, because it is in the name Pumpadooza. And what that translates to in English is pump and injector, because the assembly is in one. And what that entails is that the camshaft is the one that is the device that is physically actuating your injectors, alongside of a couple of electronic controls like a solenoid that closes your fuel circuit. So what this sprocket does, it helps the roller surfaces and the actual rocker arms themselves resist the counter pressure from the injector springs more. It also provides more oil, which you get more lubricity, and you're giving you're just giving them more oil, which means that you're better protecting your engine. Doesn't only apply to your roller surfaces, it also applies to your camshaft bearings, and it also applies to your crankshaft and connecting rod bearings. As the more oil those receive, the stronger the film in between the parts will be, and therefore you have more wear resistance, you have more lubricity, and you will have a longer lasting engine. Now, however, there's some caveats to this. One being is that you have to swap out the supporting hardware to run this sprocket over this sprocket. Most notable the changes that have to occur is your tensioner and the actual length of the chain itself, which I do not recommend modifying your existing chain. I just buy a replacement chain. They're pretty cheap and it ensures a consistent manufacturing quality. As you can see, the reason why you would need to run the shorter chain is because this is a fairly large, like not even a little bit, extremely large compared to the sprocket that is found on the BRM. Not only that, you would need the longer tensioner to take up the space that is left when you go from the bigger chain to the smaller chain. Failure to do so will result in no oil pressure or rounding the sprocket off, which leads to low oil pressure. It can be either or in this case. And eventually what no oil pressure can lead to is a catastrophic engine failure, which, in case if you're rebuilding an engine, it's not good, as you're having to pour lots of money into the engine to get it refinished, to get your new parts, to get everything else, and thus it's quite an investment. And therefore, I think this is a smart long-term move if you're wanting to have more longevity, increase lubricity, and if you are so looking to do so in the future, add better performance mods, since with more oil pressure, you're getting more protection and thus the engine can handle more. So you're getting better performance, and you are also just it's a flat out smart move to do, to run this over this. Hope this video was informational. Thank you for watching.